Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our workshop. Megha, if you want to start us off.
Right. My name is Megha, and that's Farah, and today we'll be talking to you about how to edit a highlight article. We have a couple of goals for today. The first one, we want to talk about what exactly is a highlight article. There's a bunch of you that might be new to the club. There might be a bunch of you from other branches. We want to talk about what exactly a highlight article is. And then we want to talk about how to actually edit it, how to do the grammar, how the article should look at in the end, how to do a couple of citations. And we also want to, and point number 3, we want to get a lot of practice in. Practice makes perfect, and seeing how we edit in action will help you guys understand a little bit more about what we do and if maybe that's what you want to do in the club. And of course, number 4, we want to answer your questions. If you're interested in being a copy editor, if you're interested in SBYIR, shoot questions our way and we will be very happy to answer them.
Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Farah, if you didn't know already. So I'm going to start us off by talking about what a highlight article is. So to give a really brief overview, highlight articles are generally pretty short, between 300 to 400 words. I don't know if you guys would consider that short, but relative to other pieces that go into the journal, these ones tend to be on the shorter side. So the goal of highlight articles is to provide a snapshot of recent or current research. So when our highlight writers write these pieces, we ask that they talk about research going on at Stony Brook, or they can talk about research going on at outside institutions. So in fact, during the semester, highlight writers have 3 deadlines. And for each deadline, we ask that they submit 2 highlight pieces. And one of these highlight pieces should preferably be about research going on at Stony Brook. And the other piece can be about research from anywhere, really. So we kind of want to try to focus evenly on research going on at Stony Brook as well as outside Stony Brook. So this is a quick look at what a highlight article would generally look like. So this is the general format. So the first thing that we can look at is the image name and caption. So whenever a highlight writer writes a highlight article, we also ask that they find a commercially free for reuse image. So when they save that image, obviously they have to name it. And then when they upload that image as well as their piece to their Google Drive folder, we ask that they specifically include the name of the image at the top of their piece so that we know which image goes with which piece. And under that, we also ask that they include a short caption that describes what the image is showing, preceded by figure 1. And then next we have the title, which is pretty self-explanatory. Highlight writers can choose to title their piece whatever they want, really, as long as it captures what they're talking about. Next, sorry, I just lost something. Next, we have the highlight writers put their name, so by and then their name, followed by their class or year. So we have that. And then after that, we would have the body of the piece. So the body of the piece typically consists of the introduction. So in the introduction, they typically have background information, which restates, which provides some background on what they're going to be talking about and the specific study that they will be discussing. It also usually restates the researcher's hypothesis. And then, of course, we have the body of the piece, which talks about materials and methods and also results. And then in the conclusion, they discuss major takeaways of the study, why the study matters, and also future directions. And after that, there's citations. So the first citation is typically the journal article that they are referencing, formatted in the SBYIR citation format. And then underneath that, they cite the image that they used. So they just have to write image retrieved from, and then the URL that they got it from.
Right. So how do you exactly edit one of these highlight articles? The first thing we'll talk about in terms of editing is content. Uh, when you as a copy editor, look at a highlight article, this article, as Farah said, should pretty much be the summary of the key points of the original journal article. We want to make a scientific journal article that was published in a really big publication seem really accessible to the Stony Brook audience or whoever reads whoever gets our weekly newsletters. And in order to do that, we want to make sure that the highlight is a fair representation of that original piece. In order to convey that, we find that the best way to make sure writers write is with a good intro that introduces the topic that the study was about, the body that goes over the nitty-gritty parts of that study, and the conclusion, which is kind of where we make the connection back to the Stony Brook student's life about how this is a relevant topic. When we're editing, we want to make sure that the piece is representative of this template and the values and the idea that we're trying to get across. And that's kind of like our goal as a club. Additionally, word count should be between 300 and 400 words. We found that that's the good sweet spot that that gives like a good amount of information about the scientific nuances of the piece, but also doesn't become too wordy and too unbearable to read. We also, the major part of what we do is looking out for the spelling and the grammar errors, because we want what we put on our website to be, we want it to reflect a certain standard of formality, and we want it to read very nicely to whoever is looking to learn a little bit more about different scientific concepts. And yeah, going to that final point, the scientific content should not be overly technical. So we're trying to get rid of any jargon that shows up. We know that some people who read our articles are not STEM majors or maybe not be familiar with certain topics in science. And we want to make sure that they understand exactly what's going on in the highlight and then get a very good idea of what happened in the actual experiment. So now let's do a little bit of talking to you guys. We're tired of hearing our own voices. Let's do some practice. So this is a little bit about an article about Gen 2 penguins. Take a minute or two, read it, and we're going to ask if you guys have any suggestions for edits. And then I'm going to mark it on this page, and then we'll compare it to see how one of us would have edited it. So yeah, take the minutes, read it over, come up with ideas of how you would edit. So did everyone get a chance to read through the piece? Anyone need more time? Okay, so if you have an idea of what you might edit in this selection, Feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to unmute, whatever works for you. How about I say something? I give one of my edits. So for this first sentence, where did you travel for your last vacation? A very important thing of what we do is we want to keep the language of our highlights pretty formal. We really want to avoid using words like, let me annotate, like your, or kind of like asking that kind of question at the beginning of our piece. So if I were editing this right now, I would say maybe lose that first sentence. The second sentence is kind of enough of an introduction for the piece. Does anyone else have ideas? Yes, that's a very good. So yeah, I can't find exactly where that is, but it's, oh yeah, it's a very important to find those words where
Wait, sorry, Megha, if I can interrupt. I think she means in the title, how
ah
tourism affects.
okay,
Yeah, it should be capitalized.
right. Right. We want to make sure that the titles are, we want to make sure that everything in the title is capitalized. That's a very good thing to point out. What else? Anyone?
I would probably change the order in the second sentence so that it starts with the time frame that we're looking at. So in the summer of 2017, 2018, 50,000 tourists traveled to the Antarctic. So just like the way the order of that sentence, it kind of breaks up the flow.
Right, that's a very good point. And we do almost exactly that same sentence in the fully annotated version. Yeah, so we want to make sure everything flows very nicely. Yeah, it was a very good explanation. Another big thing to point out is like this little thing over here. So it says a ratio of 1 to 20 guide to tourists. Putting the colon over there kind of is a bit awkward. It's not really how you would read it. And we do want to avoid doing that kind of ratio thing if it's not numbers, if it has words with it. So we would probably write something like a guide to tourist ratio of. And a final thing that's really important is right here. The G in Gentoo should be lowercase. These should be lowercase Gentoo penguins. And that kind of goes to the same idea as Earth versus the Earth. If it's just Earth, that's a capital E. If it's the Earth, it's a lowercase e. It's basically the same concept for things like that. So that kind of shows you what kind of things we're looking out for. If we go to the fully annotated version, all clear. Right. The summers of 2017 and 2018, just right, just like we said, just like was pointed out. There's a couple of things we talked about that could better the flow, like right here. In the previous version, it said tourists are curious about its attractions and its natural wildlife, right? Here, and making it tourist curiosity kind of elevates the piece and makes it a little bit more formal. That's something that we like to do. The Gentoo penguins, and then stress levels. We want to make sure that what we're talking about is very clear, that that goes to clarify the points being made in that sentence. So yeah, nice job, guys. Clear.
Okay, nice job on editing that, guys. So now we're gonna change gears a little bit and talk about citations and licensing. So as I think I briefly mentioned earlier, so SBYIR does have its own citation format. So we ask that our writers follow this citation format when they're putting their citations in. And as for images, we ask that they find commercially free for reuse images. A few places where you can find images like this are on Google Images, and you can just put in the filter labeled for reuse, I believe. And also you can use sites like Unsplash or Pexels or Pixabay or StockSnap. Those are just some sites that you can find commercially free for reuse images. So moving on. So as I said, SBYIR has its own citation format, and depending on the type of media that you're using, the citation format will be a little bit different. But specifically for highlight writers and copy editors, journal articles are probably the most relevant form of media. So I'm going to be briefly talking about the citation style for journal articles. So at um, if you look at this brief description over here, so we see that we start with the author or authors, followed by the article title. Then we have the journal name in italics, followed by the volume number in bold. Then we have comma, and then the page numbers, and then the year in parentheses, period, and then the DOI. And then we would put in the DOI number after that. So I have a sample citation at the bottom. So clearly it's just a sample. And so we see that we start off with the author's name, first initial, last name, followed by comma, et al, period, comma. So the et al is italicized, and this signifies that this particular piece apparently had more than 3 authors. So this is followed by the title of the journal article, followed by a period, and the name of the journal itself in italics. This is followed by the volume number in bold, and then a comma, and then the page numbers, and then the year in parentheses, the period, and then the DOI. And of course, we would put the DOI in after that. So again, I just want to point out that the et al is here because this particular article apparently had more than 3 authors. However, if there are only 2 or 3 authors of the article, you would put an and symbol in between the names. If there's only 1 author of the piece, you would just list that author's name. Okay, so now moving on to some more practice. So I know that citations can be pretty boring for a lot of people and pretty tedious, trying to find all the right information, putting it in the right format, making sure that when you copy and paste the citation, it looks correct on your paper or whatever you're working on. But actually, SBYIR has a really quick and easy way to do this. So one of our managing editors, Shrey, actually came up with a citation generator. So it's really easy. It's a Google form. And basically, when you go on the Google form, you just put in your email, and then you just put in all the fields that it asks you for. For example, the author's names, the article title, the journal name, and the page numbers, things like that. And then basically at the end, you just press submit, and then it automatically sends you an email containing the citation correctly formatted. So it's already in the correct format and everything, and all you have to do is just copy and paste the citation into your highlight piece. So yeah, so it's that simple. So I figured that it would be good to do some practice with this. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is to go to the citation generator. So I'm going to copy and paste the link and put it in the chat for you guys. So if everyone, okay, so here's the link to the citation generator. So I would really love it if everyone could click on the link and go to the citation generator. I'll give everyone like 10 seconds to do that. Okay, so if everyone is now on the citation generator, it should look like a purple Google form. So what we're actually going to be doing is practicing citing a particular journal article. So this journal article is one that one of our highlight writers actually used in the past. So I'm going to also put the link to the journal article in the chat. So if you guys can also open up the journal article, that would be great. I'll give everyone a few seconds to do that as well. Okay, so if everyone has both the citation generator and the journal article open, so we can get started. So basically what I'm going to ask everyone to do is to look at the journal article. So it should look like this. Okay, so it should look like this. Hopefully everyone can still see my screen. It should be called Tourism and Stress Hormone Measures in Gentoo Penguins on the Antarctic Peninsula. So this probably sounds familiar. It was, we had an excerpt of it before that you guys helped edit. And the citation generator should look like this. Okay, so what I'm gonna ask you guys to do is to just go through the citation generator, put in all the required information, and then at the end, just hit submit, and then wait to receive the email. And then when you get the email, just copy and paste the citation that you get into the chat. And then I can see if you guys have done it right, or if you guys need some edits there. But yeah. So I'll give everyone some time to do that. And if anyone is having trouble accessing either the citation generator or the journal article or both, I'm actually gonna do it along with you guys. So you guys can follow along with me on my screen, or you guys can do it on your own and then watch me go through it if you guys have questions. So right now I'm on the SBYIR citation generator. And so the first thing it asks me for is my email. So I'm gonna put in my email. Okay, so what are you trying to cite? So the thing that we're trying to cite is a journal article. So I'm gonna put that and then click next. Okay, so it asks me, are there 4 or more authors? So I'm gonna look over here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 authors. So the answer is yes. Okay, enter author 1 first name or first initial. So the first author's first initial is M for Maureen. So I'm gonna put M, and then is their last name, which is Lynch. So I'm gonna put that. And then it asks for the second author's first initial and last name. So that would be C, and then Youngflesh is their last name. So I'm gonna put, oh, sorry. So I'm gonna put C, and then their last name. And then finally, it asks me for the third author. So that's all you have to do, just 3 authors. So this would be N, Aga, I believe. So, and the last name. Okay, so the confusing part is, probably the article title, because this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So basically what you have to do is, so copy and paste the article title, of course, but you'll notice that specific words are capitalized in this title. So we see that tourism is capitalized, but also Gentoo penguins and also Antarctic Peninsula. So we want to make sure that those specific words are capitalized in our final citations. So we're going to keep that in mind when we copy and paste this title. Okay, so I just copy and pasted it. And so okay, the directions say, if you have to keep something uppercase, put keep upper in front of the word. So in front of every word that we want to keep uppercase, so you just put this in. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this and put it in front of every word that needs it. So yeah, so I put it in front of tourism to keep it capitalized. I put it in front of Gentoo to keep it uppercase, and also in front of penguins and Antarctic and peninsula. Okay, so that should be good. So then it asked me for the journal name. The journal name is Polar Biology. So I'm going to put that in. Then it asks for journal volume, which is 42. And then the starting page is 1299. And the last page is 1306. So 1299 and 1306. Okay, and the year is 2019. Okay, sorry. So to find the DOI of this article, so I usually click Cite this article, and then it brings up the DOI right here. So I just copy and paste this DOI and put it in over here. And then you just click Submit. Okay, so it says your citation has been emailed to you. So I'm just gonna wait to receive the email, and then I'm gonna put it in the chat. So if anyone else has gotten it, feel free to put it in the chat, or if you were just following along, that's totally fine as well. Okay, so I think I received it. Okay, my email is being a little bit slow right now. But anyway, if that doesn't work, we have the correct answers on the next slide. So, okay, so on this slide, so this first citation is what your citations should ultimately look like. So, oh, by the way, this citation on the bottom is another journal article. So we didn't do this article today, but if you wanted to practice citing this article as well, I can put the link to this journal article as well. In fact, let me do that right now. So if anyone just wants to practice citing this article as well, feel free to do so. Okay, this one should be relatively easy to cite as well. Okay, so, but basically we can see that both of these citations follow the general format of first initial, last name, followed by comma, et al, period, comma in italics, and then the title of the article, the title of the article, followed by period, and then the name of the journal in, the name of the journal in italics, followed by the volume number in bold, and then comma, page numbers, and then the year in parentheses, followed by a period and DOI, and the DOI number. So let me know if you guys got that, or if you didn't. It might just be how you entered it into the citation generator, but you can always go back and fix that.
Okay, so now we'll talk about like some extra elements that happen in each that are particular to each highlight article, but aren't specifically about content or citations. And these are, well, my favorite part of it. This is all submitted pieces must have a short byline, which kind of is a catchy hook or a title. The point of this byline is that it's going to show up on our weekly blast of articles that gets sent to a mailing list. And the point of this byline is to get the reader's attention and make them click on the link and read the article. And we also want to put 3 hashtags along with each submitted piece so that if someone's specifically looking for an article on a certain topic, our article that one of our writers did pops up. So I think that's pretty easy to follow. So let's do a little bit of practice with that. This is a intro for a highlight that's actually published on our page. It's about something called cognitive offloading. So take a few minutes to read it, and if you come up with a one-line byline, so we want something with a little bit of that doesn't just give away the entire plot, but also has a little bit of mystery to get the reader, ensnared and make them want to click on the link, and also come up with a couple of hashtags for this piece. So I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes for that. Okay, so does anybody have any ideas for a byline? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat. Or if anyone has any ideas for hashtags, you could also drop that. What about we could show ours first, and maybe that will get some ideas flowing. So let's take a look at our own islands. These are 3 of them that we came up with. Right, I see in the chat, Ria, Steph. Right, so for bylines, we want to give something that has a little bit of mystery to it. So SBU study investigates why writing things down helps you remember them. It kind of gives a little relevance to the reader's life about how they can kind of like learn something cool about their own life from the study. And that's a good way to kind of ensnare them and make them click the link. Another thing, the secrets to long-term memory are explored in a novel SBU study. So that has a little bit of an air of mystery to it. So that's right. That has an air of mystery to it. So that's cool. And also, it was mentioned in the intro, this is a Stony Brook study. And we do want to like make that as apparent as possible because SBU study, because we're all seawolves and we want to see what kind of scientific innovations go on here. So that's a very good thing to put in a byline. And then for the individuals who are like a little bit more invested in neuroscience and maybe know what cognitive offloading is. Cognitive offloading holds the key to better long-term memory and retention. So in terms of hashtags, we always want to put the hashtag SBU because this is a study that happened here. Neuroscience, psychology, I saw a couple ones in the chat. Let me read them. Cognition, psychology, memory, right? Cognitive offloading. For the individuals who want a little bit more specific. So when we do hashtags, we want to go from broad to very specific. The broad ones being SBU, that's like everything that happens on campus, and then broad topics like neuroscience, psychology, and then we're getting a little bit more focused. So memory, and then the most focused over here is cognitive offloading. It's a very specific thing so it's a little bit of something for everyone who might be looking for something on the topic.
Okay, so that basically concludes our presentation. If you guys have any questions, you can unmute yourself right now, or you can put it in the chat, and we'd be more than happy to answer it. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for coming. It really means a lot.
Thanks, everyone.